Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Chad Ryerson. I am the administrator, the building principal at Hickman Mills Middle School. I've actually been stressing a little bit about having to sit down and do this. Anytime we do things video anymore, it's like, what should you wear? What should the backdrop look like? Um, that's really not my personality. Um, my office is an old nurse's office because I'm in my office for maybe 45 minutes over the day, and that's my first 45 minutes of the day. So I figured I would do this where I'm most comfortable, which is at school. I think it's sixth period right now. I have a watch here because I have tried to do this twice, and I am an old social studies teacher, and I have a tendency to become long-winded sometimes. So the last version I did was 18 minutes, and I'm trying to cut that down now. So we'll see if version number 3 works out the best. A little bit about me. I was basically raised in a rural community, Butler, Missouri, graduating class of 75 people. I went to UCM, which was my first degree, and then I got my master's degree in administration, and then I received my doctorate from UMKC, both in urban leadership. So that's kind of my educational background. I am married. I have 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls. We just graduated our last one from high school this past year, and he's in college, and I have one in college, and that's it. So we are kind of excited about being empty nesters at this point in time. Um, Today is Friday. It is the day before the Super Bowl, so everybody's just a little bit wound up because this is that weekend. That's why I have the red on today. As far as my interests in this, for me, my career has been 95, 96. I started my educational career. In 96, 97 was my first year at Ruskin High School in the Hickman Mills School District. When I sought out a job, I was looking for something completely different than what I had been at before and where I had been raised and what my background was and what my experiences were because I like new experiences. So for me, the thing that made the most sense was go to the complete opposite of what I had. At the time, Hickman Mills was just like it is today. 100% free and reduced lunch. It's basically black and Hispanic as far as our socioeconomics go. And it was big, I went small, so it was exactly perfect for what I wanted to do. When I got to Ruskin High School. The nice thing for me was that the school was turning over, so lots of young staff members, lots of people that were my age. A lot of the staff members that had been there for 20, 30 years were retiring, and I think that the year that I went in, there were 25 teachers that were hired that year. So the nice thing for me was that I got to come in and learn from a lot of young teachers, pick up a lot of good habits, some bad habits, and was pretty successful in the classroom. Was given the opportunity to expand my role and made an assistant principal and then went on to be a principal, and I've been basically in administration for 22 years, 23 years. So for me, um, my interest in being in the position is that I've always been a teacher. You're a teacher of students when you're a classroom teacher. When I became an administrator, I was still a teacher of students, but you also teach teachers at that point in time. And then when you become a building principal, you're teaching everybody. You're teaching your custodial staff, you're teaching your kitchen staff, you're teaching everybody that you come into contact with because everything's always these learning experiences. So as I came to the end of my career, it became a decision of what is it that I would do next. I'm 56 years old, probably have 15, 20 years left to work. What is it that I wanted to do with that time? And for me, it was the next logical step was to teach people who wanted to be administrators what I had learned. Um, I feel like I have always been good at my job, been good at the things that I've done. I was a good assistant principal, good enough that when they named a principal to merge two warring high schools together in Hickman and Ruskin, my boss picked me. She asked me if I would be willing to take on the task. At the time, there were 2 building principals, and she didn't want either one of them. She wanted me to lead the charge. I did that, and learned real quickly what it was like to be a building administrator and how much different it was from being principal to being assistant principal. So for me, this step is the next step in being able to teach people what those things were that I learned, and to be able to teach them in a manner that maybe they haven't experienced before. I am not a historical practices person. As a matter of fact, the first thing I do when I go into a building is basically change everything. Um, One of the questions is, what skills and experiences do I bring? Well, like I said, I was a good classroom teacher, but I also think I've been a better administrator than I was classroom teacher. And the reason I believe that is because I have a tendency to approach administration and school administration a little bit differently than everybody else does. Most of the time, I'm trying to make sure that things are happening in a different way that they've happened before, especially when you're trying to do a reclamation project. All three schools that I've been at in my career were schools that needed to be turned around. So when I took over Ruskin High School was a DESE watch school. They were with us once a month. I had to present to them, tell them what we were doing. When I took it over, it was in bad shape. Attendance, graduation rate, all that stuff. By the time I left 3 years later, our attendance was up, our discipline was way down, our graduation rate was way up, our academic achievement and all the different pieces that we were engaged by at that point in time when it was MSIP 5, we were up in everything. So when I left the building in a really great place. The reason I left was because I wanted to experience something new. I'd been in that district for 14 years at the time, and I thought it was time for me to branch out and find something new, but I didn't want to go completely new. I wanted to kind of stay in urban. So, in the three spheres of schools, rural, urban, and suburban, urban's always been my lane. It's been the place that I liked the most because there's always so much to do and so much to fix and so much to learn. So I went to North Kansas City High School. I was up there for 8 years. While I was there, when I first got there, the reason that I was hired was because of the success that I had at Ruskin. My boss said, I need you to come in and I need you to do exactly what you were doing there and do it with us. When I got to North Kansas City High School, I'm assuming most of the people watching this understand the DESE MSIP accreditation system. Our accreditation points at North Kansas City were about 69%. So we had to figure out how we were going to go from 69 and move our way up. So I basically implemented everything that I had done at Ruskin, learned, taught myself, built, figured out over my 6 years in administration there, and we put it in place at North Kansas City. And in 4 years, we went from 69% to 92%. Back then, DESE still had the designation of accredited with distinction. They did away with that, I think, about a year after we stopped kind of keeping track of all that. And we were right on the cusp of that. We got up to 93%. So we went from 69 to 92.8, 92.9 in 4 years, and basically put in place all the things that we'd wanted to do. I loved high school administration. However, high school administration is very wearing on you. For any of you who've been high school administrators, you know that a high school day starts at about 6:30 and does not get over until about 10 o'clock at night. With extra duties, plays, proms, dances, you name it, it happens at a high school. And when there's 4 administrators, you're doing something basically every single night. At the time, I live in Pleasant Hill. You're talking about driving about 50 minutes each way is what I drove. And so 2 hours of my day was spent in the car, and I was ready to back some of that down. Put some feelers out. Hickman Mills, which had been my district and my home for a number of years. I left on really good terms, and they said, hey, we've got this middle school. Hickman Mills Middle School, where I am now, used to be called Smith Hale. Smith Hale Middle School had 1,255 students when I got here. Way too big for a middle school. I mean, ginormous. They were also one of the bottom 10 middle schools in the state at the time that I got here. I worked under an administrator for a year. Did not enjoy it. Was not the way that I wanted to run a building. He was a nice man. He had his own way of doing things, and it was different than the way that I was going to do things. I contemplated retirement at that point in time because I could have retired. And the superintendent, Mr. Obang, approached me and asked me if I would be willing to go and operate another school. I took a break off school. We took a group of 6th graders. We went to another school, 400 kids, and we went from basically being the worst school in the district to being the darlings of the district. We had the highest attendance rate. We had the lowest discipline. Our MAP scores increased dramatically, and it was a really good thing. So good such that they asked me to do it again and said, listen, we want you to leave this school and we want you to go and we want you to take 6th and 7th grade. We want you to do the same thing again, see if you can recreate it. So in year 2 of coming back, I did the same thing again, went to another school and increased even more. We were the first school that's ever met the attendance criteria that DESE puts out in the district since they started that 90-90 piece over a decade ago. Our discipline fell to almost nothing. Our academics increased by exactly what I want. I always look for anywhere between a 3 to 5% increase in academics with regards to MAP scores and test scores, and that's always doable and something that's a goal that you should shoot for. So we were able to do all of those things. This year, I'm in a true middle school. I'm in a 678 building. I have about 700 students. We still continue to do what we've done before. My students attend at a rate that's kind of the highest in the district. The middle school, that I'm in always competes with the elementary schools for the attendance award each month, and then it drives the elementary teachers crazy because those elementary administrators have never had a middle school principal that's kind of competed with them on that. So we've done good things, and I feel pretty proud of what I've done. My model is always whatever school I go to, leave it better than when I found it. And I have done that in all of my stops. So the reason that this kind of falls in line with my goals and aspirations are I'm not done teaching. I don't want to go back into the classroom. I don't know that I have the stamina to deal with sixth graders and seventh graders on a yearly basis anymore. However, the bad thing about being an administrator is that you get to a point where you accumulate all this knowledge, and then what do you do with it? And I think that I could really lend to a program and bring a perspective to a program that probably not a lot of people have, and have had a lot of success doing what I've done. I never had aspirations to be at central office. The building was the highest that I ever wanted to be because I like the connection with families. I like the connection with kids, the connection with students, the connection with just everybody that's around. So really for me, potentially going into an instructional program to teach potential future administrators was kind of the next step for me. And again, I got about 15 years to do it, and hopefully, I can make an impact on some people. So that's all I have. I'm right under my time limit, so I want to make sure I stop this one on time this time. I look forward to potentially discussing this further with you. I've had a good career, and I think that this might be the next logical step for me, and I think I could have everybody as much of impact on upcoming administrators as I've have on everybody else that I've had contact with throughout from my career. So it's Friday, Super Bowl Sunday. Hopefully we have a three-peat, and I look forward to potentially getting to sit down and have further discussions about this with everybody. Thank you.